I'd like to start us off on a dark and stormy night in a remote Bavarian castle. There in his laboratory, one Dr. Frankenstein toils over his experiment. This is a man who's had a lifelong curiosity for science, which becomes an obsession for creating life. And in a flash of lightning, his creature begins to move. How do you suppose he felt at that moment when his creation came to life? Thank you. Excited, yes. I'm going to tell you, there was a moment in my life where I felt a bit like Dr. Frankenstein. But instead of creating a terrible green monster that would ruin my life, I created something much different. You see, my passion is animation. The word animation comes from the Latin root animare, which means to impart life, which is basically what Dr. Frankenstein was trying to do. In my case, I'm trying to impart life onto lifeless computer models made of ones and zeros. I'm trying to take intangible pixels and make them appear to have substance, and then to think and to feel. And if I do my job right, I can make the audience feel something too. Maybe I can make them laugh, or gasp, or even shed a tear. Animation is a powerful medium for expressing your creativity, and creativity is exactly what I want to talk to you about today. But not just the kind of creativity that artists and animators share. I'm talking about creating opportunities. I should first tell you that this passion for animation is not something I've had my whole life. It actually came to me pretty late. Growing up, I always was unclear about exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't really have a path or a model to follow. The only things I knew for certain were that I loved to draw, I loved to learn, and oh my God, did I love Star Wars. I have been a huge Star Wars nerd ever since I saw it at 6 years old. And all throughout my education, from Bonita Vista High School, right across the street, through college, where I majored in art, I've always tried to learn a lot about a lot of things, not just art, but acting, psychology, biology, science, literature, computers. It was all interesting to me. I was just naturally curious. But still, the path to my career remained blurry until the day I saw this flyer from Presto Studios. They were a small game developer in San Diego, and they were hiring artists to design new worlds for their CD-ROM adventure games. Now, I had no experience in game design or any kind of design, really, but I was willing to learn, and based on the potential they saw in my artwork, they hired me as an intern and then eventually as a full-time employee. At Presto, I soaked up every bit of knowledge I could. I learned about conceptual design, 3D computer graphics, visual effects. I even acted in some of the live-action scenes in the games. It was a fantastic learning experience, and I made great friends. But after about 5 years or so, I started to get restless because I felt like I wasn't growing anymore. My curiosity and my creativity were no longer being satisfied. And then, in 1996, something amazing happened. George Lucas started working on a new series of Star Wars films, and they needed designers and visual effects artists. That was it. I knew my destiny. I knew why I was put on this earth, to work on these films. So I put all my best artwork into a portfolio, all my hopes and dreams and all my hard work and passion. I shoved it into an envelope, and I sent it to George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic in San Rafael, California. And to my amazement, they called me for 2 job interviews, one for a position in the art department and one as a visual effects artist. I was so stoked, and I thought, how am I ever going to choose between those 2 jobs, right? So I fly up to San Rafael, and I'm nervous and intimidated, but the people I meet there are super cool, just like the people I work with at Presto. And the interviews go great, and I leave there knowing that fate is on my side. And just a few weeks later, I didn't get either job. Oh, I was heartbroken. I thought, what went wrong? How could this happen? Was I not good enough? Wasn't this destiny? Maybe just the timing was bad. So I kept working at it. More submissions. I got another interview and another rejection. Maybe it wasn't just the timing that was bad. I couldn't believe that hard work and passion and fate, as it seemed, were letting me down. But something else big was happening in the movies in the 90s. A little company named Pixar, which George Lucas had sold to Steve Jobs back in the 80s, had created the very first computer-animated feature-length film called Toy Story. And computer animation is blowing up. And the tools for creating computer animation are becoming accessible to hobbyists. Now, up to this point, I had only ever animated spaceships and explosions and flying logos. I'd never tried to bring a character to life before, but it looked like fun, and I was curious to see if I could do it. So I started reading everything I could find about computer animation, which at the time was not very much. And I got some inexpensive software and went to work. And this is my Dr. Frankenstein moment, because I needed a character to animate. So I invented one. A little green alien that I named Blit. And I gave him only one eye and 3 fingers on each hand for simplicity. And then I set about building him in the computer from lifeless parts, stitching together digital bones and skin on a virtual slab. And then I needed a life-giving spark. But instead of a bolt of lightning, it was an idea for a performance. I posed little Blit on a virtual stage and began to position his body with my mouse cursor. I wanted to see if I could get the performance that was in my head, the acting, onto the screen. The first time I saw him move, it was magical. When his little eye blinked and looked around, he seemed to be alive. I was a god. My creativity was sparked. I had to try more. My next experiment would be a test of physicality, trying to understand the physics of motion and make the character appear to have weight. So much fun, and I was hooked. For my third experiment, I wanted to try a lip sync exercise, incorporating dialogue into the scene. But what would Blitz say? And what would he sound like? While searching for ideas, I came across a song that talked about heartbreak and perseverance, 2 things I could identify with. And I thought, that would make for a great piece of animation. But I don't want to animate the entire 3.5-minute song. I have to find a way to end it quickly.
But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along, and so you're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with that sad look upon your face. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? You think I crumbled? You think I'd lay down and die? Oh no, not I will survive.
Sorry. How many of you have seen that clip before? Okay, a few of you remember it. So when I was done with the clip, I posted it to an online forum for feedback, as I'm always doing, to see how I can improve my technique. And the response is overwhelmingly positive. And people on the forum start sending it to their friends outside the forum. Next thing I know, it's spreading across the internet. I've created one of the first viral videos, even before Facebook or YouTube existed, even before I knew that that was a thing. Suddenly, I am getting thousands of emails from all over the world, fan mail from people who think it's funny, and I got some really touching messages from people who found it inspirational. And then there were the heartbreaking messages from people who were struggling in their lives, struggling with loss or with disability or poor health. And they would tell me how the video brought them a little bit of relief or even a little bit of strength when they really needed it. Those messages were emotionally overwhelming for me to read. And it took a while before I could learn to accept that people could be moved by a silly cartoon. I was starting to understand the true power and potential of animation, and it was humbling. So that's how I got my passion for animation. Because by doing something just out of curiosity, being creative for fun, I connected with thousands of people. And I also created an opportunity. Because among those thousands of emails were also some job offers. Some of them even seemed legit. Most of them seemed like scams. But the best one was from someone at Pixar asking if I would interview for an animation position. And it was signed Ed Catmull. And I could not place the name at the time, so I did a quick Google search and I said, oh, he's the president of Pixar. And he's basically the godfather of computer graphics. So of course I accepted, right? It's like Sir Paul McCartney called and asked if I would join his band. Sign me up. So I started at Pixar on March 14th of 2000, and these are some of the many projects I've had the good fortune to work on. The funny thing is, it wasn't until I became a professional animator that I realized it's the perfect job for me. It combines so many of the interests I've had my whole life: drawing, acting, storytelling, computers. It's like it was custom made for me, and it was better than any job I had imagined for myself. Looking back through some childhood artifacts in preparation for this talk, I came across some old flipbook animations that I used to do in my favorite books. Yeah, it's mostly people dying in horrible ways. But seeing that was like finding a message in a bottle from my younger self sent to my older self saying, hey, maybe this is what you should be doing. Now, had I kept working on my portfolio, would I have eventually gotten one of those jobs at ILM? Maybe. And where would I be now? Would I be on the stage? Who knows? Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, premiered in the summer of 1999. And after seeing it, I thought, well, maybe ILM is not the place for me after all. More than ever, we can turn our creativity and our curiosity into opportunity by finding an audience or by filling a need. My own wife, the amazing Candice Apple, created her own opportunities. She started her career as a chemist in a biotech lab. And she was curious about the high-powered computers that were going unused by the other scientists. So she taught herself computational chemistry and built tools for those computers to help her fellow scientists. Those tools won an award from Microsoft. Here she is accepting an award from Bill Gates. Her creativity resulted in opportunities in better jobs in the tech industry and paved the way for her and I to relocate to the San Francisco Bay Area, where we live now. But I'm still the kid from Chula Vista who loves to draw and loves to learn, and even though I still really love Star Wars, I found an even bigger universe to play in. Thank you. Just a quick note, just to say that creativity fueled by curiosity and learning can lead to new and unexpected opportunities, right? Because it's curiosity and creativity that lead to innovation. And when you innovate, the opportunities come to you. So I want you to look back at your past and see if there are any messages in bottles there. And I want you to look ahead and ask, what am I curious about? What do I want to learn? And I want to see what your creativity will bring to life. If it's a green monster, I hope it's a nice one. Thank you.